ASU Baseball is in the midst of its series with BYU here in the Valley. Heading into the home stretch of the season, we'll take a look at who's on the up and whose stocks are falling.
And spring ball is coming to a close for Sun Devil football. Fans will be welcome into Madden America Stadium tonight for FanFest. We've got our crew on site early to break it down.
And newly hired ASU women's basketball coach Molly Miller joins us for an exclusive interview on this week's edition of Cronkite Sports Live. Welcome inside Studio 6 for the Cronkite Sports Live Season 22 finale. I'm Gabby Chernoff, he's Justin Lassertosa, and we've got a full slate of ASU spring sports on deck this afternoon.
Yeah, Gabby, I've had a great time at the desk this semester. Feels like it went by in the blink of an eye, but this past week, our crew caught up with some various figures across this university. Safe to say, we saved the best for last.
A very exciting show for sure, but we'll kick things off Thursday night, ASU Baseball, Phoenix Municipal Stadium. It's the Sun Devils series opener against BYU. First meeting between the two programs since 2022. Now, BYU got two in the top of the first inning, but here's Matt King. He has an RBI single for ASU's first score of the night. He would have 3 RBI on the evening to bring his total to 7 in the past 2 games. That cuts the deficit in half to 1 BYU. Bottom of the third, it's Kian Vu at the dish, and then an error by the second baseman allows Jacob Tobias to come in and score, and it puts 2 runners in scoring position. ASU's first lead of the night. It's 3-2 Sun Devils. Just the very next inning, in the bottom of the fourth, Kyle Walker, one of ASU's most reliable bats as of late, he launches a double to right. That's Jax Ryan rounding the bases, and he would come in to score. And then later in that same inning, it's the young gun, Landon Hairston, with an oppo solo shot. That's his 3rd home run of the year. Floodgates have officially opened for the Sun Devils. 6-3 lead now as his teammates huddle around him and congratulate him for that homer. Top of the 5th inning, Ben Jacobs is on the mound. He punches out Riker Show, who goes down looking. 6.1 innings pitched and 11 strikeouts for Jacobs on the evening. Still 6-3 Sun Devils. Now top of the 9th, Cole Carlone in to close a 1-2-3 inning on just 11 pitches for the sophomore southpaw. 8-3 your final score on Thursday night. Snaps a 6-game losing streak against the BYU program, looking for their 7th series win of the season tonight. Here's Willie Bloomquist after the win.
For me, it's my job to make sure to crack the whip and get them right back into hopefully continuing to stay with the approach. So challenge, it's a daily challenge, but these guys are capable of doing something special.
In this BYU series game 2 tonight, another notable, ASU's fielding is much improved this season. Last night was the team's 23rd game of the season without an error, a .982 fielding percentage this year, which ranks in the top 10 nationally. Each of the last 3 years, ASU has been outside the top 100 in that category. We'll see if they can keep all of that up tonight. But we now have WCSN baseball reporter Aiden ONeal joining us from Phoenix Municipal Stadium ahead of this evening's game. And Aiden, ASU was 0-2 in its last 2 games prior to this BYU series, a loss in last weekend's series finale against Texas Tech and in the midweek against Grand Canyon. What were the key takeaways from that series as a whole and that GCU midweek, and how might that have impacted their momentum going forward?
Yeah, unfortunately, Gabby, it's been the same old story for the Arizona State Sun Devils. Inconsistency from the offense to the defense. ASU's bats, they're top 4 in the Big 12 in average. Their pitchers, bottom 4 in the Big 12 in earned runs allowed. That has been a cardinal sin. You can't bounce back from that. And we saw it in their midweek loss to GCU, a game they need to have. They haven't won back-to-back Big 12 series since the end of March. It makes this weekend that much more important. But there is some positives around the corner, guys. Matt King, Cole Carlone, 2 of the best players in the Big 12. Matt King's batting average hovering right around 400. And Cole Carlone, Willie Bloomquist's guy in the back end of the bullpen.
Now back to the here and now, looking at this BYU series. ASU wins 8-3 on Thursday. What are this weekend's implications with the postseason just about a month away?
Well, when you look at this ASU team now, every single Big 12 series feels like a must-win, and they handle business last night against a BYU team that entered Tempe this weekend, bottom 2 in the Big 12, an 8-3 win over BYU. It was Ben Jacobs once again, another double-digit strikeout performance. He was terrific. He's that guy where when he's on the bump, he can get you a win any given day, and he's finding his stride at the right time. But for Sun Devil fans across the country, this series feels like a must-sweep, even with a team as low as BYU is in the Big 12. They're looking to handle business here for the rest of the weekend.
And there's still a good chunk of time left in this 2025 season. The Sun Devils have 3 conference series remaining, but as of now, where does ASU stand in regards to this Big 12 tournament?
Yeah, Gabby, right now ASU is number 5 overall in the Big 12, but there's a lot of positive around the corner. Their final 4 Big 12 series, BYU this weekend, Houston, Baylor, Oklahoma State, all teams below them currently in the Big 12 standings. What does that mean? It means winnable games for the Sun Devils, chance to make up ground on a red-hot West Virginia, their rivals down south. There's so much room to grow, and that's what makes these Big 12 series so important. Right now, they would be taking on Cincinnati, the number 8 seed in the Big 12 tournament. That's a team that gave them fits on the road just a couple weeks ago. It makes these next couple series that much more important. And if they handle business, Gabby, that means that the Big 12 tournament result might not even matter. They might have a guaranteed spot in the NCAA regionals.
Well, Aiden, thank you so much for joining us from Phoenix Municipal Stadium. Some bright lights on Friday night over at Muni, and then Friday night lights are back at Mountain America Stadium as well. The Sun Devil Football Fan Fest taking place in Tempe tonight. We have a whole crew out there, so I'll send it to Tempe, where our Max Sepa is standing by.
Thanks so much, Gabby and Justin, and it is so good to be back here at the home of the defending Big 12 champions as Arizona State football returns in front of its fans and welcomes fans back into Mountain America Stadium for the first time in 153 days as they officially host their 2025 Football Fan Fest. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the conclusion of spring ball. My name is Max Sepa, and we have so much to get to recap what has been a very fascinating spring season for ASU football. Now to start, college football as we know it continues to change at a rapid rate. Consider this. 30 years ago in 1995, the NCAA mandated rosters cap at 120 players and grant only a maximum of 85 scholarships. This was at a time when there were only 108 FBS programs, and these rules were still in place as late as 2024, when the sport had nearly doubled in both financial value and had more than 20 new programs to account for. So now in 2025, much needed adjustments to both of these decades-long problems are getting solved, we think. Here's Kenny Dillingham's thoughts on the long overdue changes.
Yeah, I'm not really worried, to be honest about it. I mean, yeah, if somebody wants to leave, like, we'll help them. We'll help them find a spot. If nobody wants to leave, great. If the biggest thing for me is the house case, you know, and what the roster limits are and what that looks like. I think that, for me, is a bigger deal than, like, I'm worried about our own guys leaving. And because if they want to leave, I want them to leave. Yeah, obviously, we've already informed some of the guys that, you know, they're not going to be in the 105. And that was just because, you know, you don't have to tell them till August. Well, they can't transfer in August. So you're just going to tell a kid in August he can't play football? And then it uses a year of eligibility? That's wrong.
And the scope of this issue goes far beyond the gridiron, as former ASU swimmer Grant House spoke to us last week saying, and quote, "I certainly don't think this is the final step by any means. I certainly hope it isn't, because there's a lot more that athletes need access to and can access. Athletes should partner with, have voices in, ownership in, and should be walking alongside, rather than behind or below the university." House spoke on this and more involving the issue with our Andres Armenta.
The construction of the House settlement is nearly 200 days old and depends on 4 main pillars. The first is the $2.8 billion that's going to be portioned out to student athletes as back pay for missing out on NIL compensation before 2021. The next big figure is $20.5 million, essentially the new salary cap for athletic departments to pay all their student athletes directly for the first time ever. Revenue sharing for student athletes is also on tap, a new form of compensation with 95% of broadcast revenue going to football, men's, and women's basketball players. Finally, the pillar that decides whether the settlement gets approved, roster limits with immediate effect, quickly cutting thousands of walk-ons or students on partial scholarships. In the coming weeks, Judge Wilkins holds the final say in a landmark decision for collegiate athletics.
Thanks so much, Andres, and it will be fairly interesting to see what the end game will be for House versus NCAA. But enough judicial talk. The whole reason why we're here is to talk Sun Devil football, and so much has changed with Kenny Dillingham's squad over these 6 weeks leading up to tonight, where this roster will get their chance to display in front of the fans and under the lights what things might be like come week 1 in late August. And for that, it's only fitting that we bring her alongside our very own Jacob Brooks and Ryan Myers, who have joined me but are down on the field to discuss everything that we could see here in Tempe tonight. Gentlemen.
Hello and welcome inside Mountain America Stadium, where we are mere hours away from the Arizona State Football 2025 Fan Fest. I'm Jacob Brooks alongside Brian Myers, and Brian, the energy is already in the air in Tempe.
Yeah, this marks the last of Arizona State's 15 allocated spring practices, Jacob, so it should be an exciting time for fans to fill the stands here at Mountain America and witness the Big 12 champions go against each other again, another fun practice.
And you mentioned ASU, they are the reigning Big 12 champions, and they're in a unique position with so many players returning. Obviously, the loss of Cam Scadaboo to the NFL draft hurts, but according to ESPN metrics, ASU is returning 79% of its defensive production last season, with the only major loss on that side of the ball being Shamari Simmons. So this team has experience, and this team has had time to get to know one another and really gel as a unit.
And they've also been able to add some exciting new players in the door, Jacob. You talk about the ability to bring in transfers that you really want, not just getting guys because you got to get guys in the door. They bring in 2 defensive backs in the DB room, guys from Purdue, Nyland Green and Kenrich Breedlove. They also able to bring in a wide receiver prospect in Jalen Moss from Fresno State, and that really allows this team to pick and choose what they need to fill in certain gaps. It also helps to be able to add some exciting freshman prospects as well, Jacob. Adding guys in the door like freshman AJ Ia, tight end at 6'5". They're able to add a wide receiver from Texas, Harry Hassman, who runs a 4.34 40-yard dash. So Arizona State got in a couple good prospects, a lot of guys who can really bolster their unit, both in the experience department as well as a bunch of young guys as well.
And with that much talent on the roster and Arizona State being the reigning Big 12 champions, the expectations surrounding this squad have certainly changed, Ryan. Last year in ASU's inaugural season in the Big 12, the squad was picked to finish last in the conference, went on to win the conference and participate in the first iteration of the 12-team college football playoff. So the expectations surrounding the team have changed, and the expectations surrounding starting quarterback Sam Leavitt have also changed. Last spring, he was in a quarterback battle to see if he would even become the starter with Jeff Sims. Now heading into this season, he's an early Heisman favorite. So the expectations have changed, but that also means that the energy surrounding this team has changed.
Certainly.
Kenny Dillingham's Activate the Valley mantra has been spreading like wildfire. ASU players are throwing out the first pitch of the Diamondbacks game. ASU players are courtside at Suns games. Fans are showing up and filling the stands here at Mountain America Stadium, and they're going to be out in full forces tonight to get a first true look at how this 2025 Arizona State squad is going to look this season.
Thanks so much, gentlemen, and please stay hydrated down there on the field. But more importantly, as Jacob and Ryan were mentioning, there are so many veteran leaders who are returning to this Sun Devil squad in 2025, with one of them being redshirt senior defensive lineman Justin Watley. And defensive coordinator Brian Ward was very apt to mention how important Watley's leadership is to a defensive line room full of leaders.
Yeah, he has contagious energy. He's a very active guy. When he has energy, our whole defense feels it. And, you know, he's just a physical dude. I mean, you're talking about 275, 280-pound edge who has some twitch, but he just brings a lot of physicality to that edge position. So, you know, it's our defense goes as our front goes. And, he's a key piece to that.
Now, you might be wondering what makes Watley's leadership so unique. And the fact of the matter is that his roots from Cleveland Heights, Ohio, truly make him one of the most unique personalities on this Sun Devil roster. I got the chance to chat with him at Conchicama practice fields during the spring to specifically find out what makes him tick from a passion standpoint, both on and off the field. Your personality, I think, is really second to none on this team. You know, I was at the Texas State game where you came up to me and yelled in my camera talking about, you know, eat 'em up, cats.
Eat 'em up! Eat 'em up, cats! Eat 'em up!
You know, you obviously made the belt comment at halftime against U of A. Where do you feel like that comes from? Do you feel like that came from your family maybe growing up? Do you feel like that maybe that came from looking up to Troy? Where does that like passion and energy that you have, not only towards football, but really just towards anything?
Man, I feel like I've always been outgoing and really, you know, a rambunctious type of kid, man. My dad, when I was younger, he always never let me play with anybody my age. I was always had to play with the older kids, so I'm always getting bumped around and beat up a lot, man. So it kind of gave me like a little edge to, okay, I got to go out there and stand my own, man. So Coach Dillingham gives us the freedom to just go out here and be comfortable, man, be who you are, and he loves you for that. He knows who he recruits, man, and he knows who he brings in the building. And he always knows that football is a game of emotion, you know, so it's play with emotion and not be emotional. You got to have that, you know, that balance.
What are kind of like those D-line, you know, meetings like kind of like maybe off the field? Like what do you guys necessarily do kind of off the field to kind of just continue maybe just bond, maybe not only as, you know, obviously teammates, but also as friends?
When we're not in the building, man, I feel like everybody really hangs out with each other. I kind of look at, you know, our whole team as a huge puzzle piece, and everybody just brings something different and it all clicks. I feel like that's a part of what we have as a culture that you don't see on the field, man. Everybody really plays hard for one another, because you see when we leave the facility, everybody's still with each other. Everybody's hanging out with each other and spending time with each other, and our chemistry rises so high that I feel like it makes us as a team unstoppable.
And you can tune in and watch my entire sit down with Wadley, as well as some members of his family that fully break down his story to Tempe on all of our Cronkite Sports social media pages tomorrow afternoon. But that's going to do it for us here at Mountain America Stadium. Football activities for the Football Fan Fest are kicking off at 6 p.m. Arizona time, but we're going to send it back to Justin and Gabby in Studio 6 in downtown Phoenix. Guys?
ASU women's basketball is set to turn a new leaf next season. The Sun Devils are ready to kickstart year one under head coach Molly Miller, who's currently assembling a largely revamped roster in Tempe. 8 players from last season entered the portal, with plenty of new faces on the way. A transfer class led by the likes of rising senior guard Jordan JoJo Jones. She averaged 20 a game last season with Denver and broke the program's single-season scoring record. And senior guard Gabby Elliott, who comes from Penn State, entering her 6th season of play. And now we're fortunate enough to be joined by Molly Miller herself. Molly, thank you for taking the time today to join us.
Thank you for having me.
Coach, thank you again so much for joining us. Now, you said in your opening press conference that you've established your standards, your non-negotiables with these players. As we've just heard, you brought in some new transfers since then. So what have those conversations been like with the new transfers, and how do you feel like the group as a whole is gelling together early on?
You know, for me, it's been a matter of sharing my vision for the program and just talking to these recruits and hearing their excitement about what we plan and what we have planned here for Arizona State women's basketball. It's really a breath of fresh air to see how their excitement matches my excitement. And they can't wait to get on campus. I talk to them often throughout the week and just make time for them, and they're excited to get going just as much as I am.
Yeah, not only do you have almost an entirely new roster coming in, you have an entirely new coaching staff coming to help set that standard. Some pretty highly respected names within the coaching circle, some of which are coming with you from GCU. What excites you about your initial staff so far?
Yeah, they've been just as bought in as I am, and their enthusiasm and their energy in terms of what they want to see this program turn into, we're just lockstep. And I just have a wide variety of coaches from different spaces coming together to meet these goals. Jason Glover, who's my associate head coach, he came over with me from GCU, and he's been at every level. He's coached in the WNBA, the NBA, the G League, the Power Four. So he really knows his stuff. Great X's and O's guy, analytical, but also started out as player development. So the player development piece is really important to me. And then Coach Norman, Stephanie Norman, coming over from Louisville. I mean, she was a National Assistant of the Year, been to multiple Final Fours, Elite Eights. She's just has so much wealth of knowledge and experience, and she loves the relationship piece. She's really in a servant part of her life, and so to have her come back to her alma mater is really special. I brought Abby Olajuwon from the Connecticut Sun. She's been there for the past 2 years. So that synergy between recruiting players that do want a future in the professional ranks, she sees how that translates and she's able to speak directly to that. And then Deja Bernard, who played for me. It's nice to have a players coach on the team who can kind of give all the recruits the lowdown on playing for Coach Miller, and she's really convicted. She can finish my sentences to the style that we play. And then Ashley Lopez, she's a 30 under 30 recipient. She came over with me as well, and she's just a rising star in our profession. So really excited to have a group of all different varieties of experiences, levels, and it's come together really nicely.
Now, this ASU community really seems to have welcomed you with open arms. There were several other head coaches from Sun Devil athletics programs at your opening press conference. We've seen you all out and about in Tempe as well. So although you're just moving from one spot in the Valley to another, what has this transition into Sun Devil athletics been like for you?
It's really been phenomenal just to see the support. There's a lot of energy around Sun Devil athletics. I think for me, even yesterday, we were at a restaurant with a recruit, and Kenny happened to be walking by. So he stops and he shares all the special things about this place and this area and what's happening. So it really does feel like this intimate family experience, and I've been welcomed. There's a lot of fans even that support, and people that I've met with being here in this short time that are excited about this new era. And I want to make everyone proud. I've got a lot of support, and there's a lot of momentum in what we're doing here at ASU and in the athletic department. And I just want to play my part in that.
Well, Molly, once again, we want to just thank you for your time today. We look forward to seeing your career get underway here at ASU, and we wish you the best of luck in year one.
Thank you so much. Go Devils.
A lot of talk about who's coming in. Let's talk about who's on their way out. Leading scorer from last year, Jalen Brown, is on her way to Michigan State, Ty Skinner to SMU, Kennedy Fauntleroy headed to East Carolina, and Kennedy Basham to TCU. Sun Devils are losing 96% of scoring production from last season, but they're stepping into a new era, and the line to get in starts behind Molly Miller. As the new face of Club ASU, she's handpicking a crew of transfers ready to put in the work and rebuild the program. Our Devin Henderson and Ryan Sikora made it past security, and they've got the scoop from Club ASU.
Yeah, Tempe, Arizona, one of America's favorite college towns. And did you know we see over 300 days of sunshine a year? That's perfect weather for a Saturday stroll down Mill and maybe even a nighttime stop inside of Molly Miller's new joint, Club ASU. Gabby Elliott? All right, you're first in line here for night number one. A Penn State transfer who comes in shooting north of 40% from three. Our man at the menu this evening is Devin Henderson. Dev, what's Gabby got?
Yeah, Ryan. Last year, Molly Miller had the nation's second leading three-point shooter on her team. Elliott is similarly coming to light it up in the club. A lethal spot-up shooter, she's bringing a little kick on the kickouts to Miller's new cocktail in Tempe. She has an able eye for passing, but makes her name pouring it in from deep.
Okay, one must-have off the list. Onto a mile-high machine who racked up a shade shy of 20 points per game at Denver. What's Jordan Jones getting, Dev?
Man, Jones is a pure bucket getter. The base spirit in Miller's drink, who will likely handle the scoring load. The 6-foot guard can shoot in the mid-range, but is at her best turning up with the ball in her hands and space to cook. Not a sniper like Elliott, she prefers a more personal style of play, rolling out the ball in the one-on-one and getting to work off the dribble. All with one goal in mind, just get that ball in the basket.
I count 2 guards so far, so what about a 10 points per game forward to freshen up this flight in McKenna Brackens?
The fleet-footed forward operating out of the mid to high post, she's the sweetener in Molly's mixer. Brackens can lose defender with an array of dance moves with her back to the basket, or she'll pull up from the high post, and if you really want to let her, she'll drag bigs out to three-point land with a capable deep shot. Her offensive versatility at 3 levels will open up spacing and the possibilities for Miller's new Devils.
Okay, appreciate y'all stopping by tonight at Club ASU. Devin, by the way, let them know the special kicker.
Yeah, y'all, no cover, don't even worry, but Molly is going to make you guard hard to get into this club.
ASU Women's Hoops isn't the only team undergoing a clean slate this offseason. Safe to say if you're a fan of the men's team, you'd like to wipe your memory clean from last year, and Bobby Hurley's had a lot of refining to do this offseason. 10 players entered the transfer portal, and the only player set to return from last year is point guard Trevor Best. Now, Hurley's incoming haul isn't as prominent as it was last season, and he's got a lot of work to do if he wants to tame the tempers of the Sun Devil faithful. Our Crawford McKinstry breaks down the program's reset.
The landscape of college athletics that many grew accustomed to over the years has now been flipped entirely on its head. With a revamped transfer portal, student athletes can enjoy more freedom than they ever have before. However, that player movement can come back to bite schools later on down the line, much like it has with ASU men's basketball. After a disappointing end to the season, head coach Bobby Hurley lost 10 Sun Devils to the transfer portal, including the entire 2024 recruiting class. Despite this, Hurley has kept a short memory of all the transfer portal outies to sever themselves from Arizona State and has brought in some new pieces to reintegrate the roster. Hoping to add some scoring, ASU signed Marcus Adams Jr. from CSUN. In 32 games played and 20 starts last season, the sophomore averaged 16 points and 5 boards. Adams Jr. moves well off the ball, has the ability to create his own shot off the dribble, and is deadly off the catch and shoot with a near 40% three-point clip. Another staggered arrival into Tempe comes with Mo Odom, a 6'1" guard from Pepperdine. Last season, the Sun Devils averaged nearly as many turnovers as they did assists, so the addition of Odom looks to provide a playmaking boost for ASU. In his junior campaign, Odom averaged 7.5 assists, along with an efficient 13 points. The last time an ASU guard averaged at least 5 assists was in the 2018-19 season. Arizona State has lost some front court depth as well, so to combat that, Hurley has brought in grad student forward Alan Mukeba. Standing at 6'6", 250, Mukeba is difficult to keep out of the paint. Last season, he averaged 15 points and 8 boards while shooting an excellent 61% at the rim, where 82% of his field goal attempts were taken. While much uncertainty surrounds the transfer portal, head coach Bobby Hurley looks to refine a depleted roster after a season many in Tempe will look to forget. For Cronkite Sports, I'm Crawford McKinstry.
It was senior day last Sunday at Club Farrington for ASU Softball. The home closer will get things started in the bottom of the second inning. It's ASU's AJ Murphy with a leadoff solo shot to right field. That's her 4th homer of the season. Sun Devils out to an early jump, 3-1 ASU, but that would conclude the Sun Devils scoring in this one. Now the top of the 4th inning, it's Taraya Coleman at the plate for the Bears. Shortstop Grace Molitor's 11th error of the season allows that ball to sneak through. 1 run rounding the bases coming in to score. The second run comes in as well, and that would go for a 3 RBI triple, 6-3 Baylor now. Top of the 5th inning, now it's 8-3 Bears. Brooklyn Carter at the plate. She's going to smack this one to left field, stays just fair and rolls into the corner. That would go for an inside the park home run. Good for 2 RBI. We'll see a replay of that ball again. It's Tanya Windle in the outfield, kind of just takes a funny bounce. She takes a swipe at it and can't quite get her glove on it. 10-3 now Baylor. Top of the 6th inning, it's Presley Pylon. She will knock a double to center field, and this one stays just inside the park. 1 run comes in to score to make it 11-3 Baylor. 12-3 your final on senior day in ASU's home closer. That snaps a 6-game conference winning streak for the Sun Devils. 1 regular season series remaining at Texas Tech. Here's Artia Reed with a bracketology.
The Megan Bartlett era at ASU is finally taking a new turn. After 2 dismal seasons, the Sun Devils are on the cusp of making their return to the NCAA tournament. With a 33-16 overall record, ASU ranks 35th in the latest RPI, and currently the Sun Devils are projected to make the field. Softball America has them as a 3 seed in the Austin Regional in their latest bracketology prediction. ASU has notable non-conference wins over Cal, Washington, and Oregon, which is now a top 5 team guaranteed to host at least a regional. In the Big 12, BYU and UCF are top 50 RPI teams that ASU managed to take 2 of 3 games from. And although sweeps would have been ideal, series wins over 55th ranked Baylor and 65th ranked Kansas help bolster ASU's resume. Now its trip the Sun Devils up is failing to be competitive against other top teams. Florida nearly shut ASU out in a largely uncompetitive February matchup, and ASU only managed to score multiple runs in just one of its 3 games against Arizona. Most glaringly, ASU was shut out in 3 crucial non-conference games versus Oklahoma State and twice against GCU. Now, ASU still has 1 series left, but it's on the road at number 12 Texas Tech. A competitive showing would likely lock up the Sun Devil spot in the field of 64, but if they can't make that happen, a deep run in the Big 12 tournament might be the only way ASU lives out its postseason dreams. Justin and Gabby, back to you at the desk.
Tailgating. I'm sure when that word comes to mind, you think of some fans in a parking lot before a big football game. It's not quite as common with softball, though. Megan Bartlett and the parents of ASU Softball are trying to change that narrative over at Club Farrington, and it seems to be boding quite well for them. Arizona State Softball in 2024, 17-17 at home, but since trying to create a little bit of a better culture over at Farrington, 23-12 this season. Seems to be boding pretty well for them. Our WCSN softball reporter Alex Martinez has the story.
It is 2 hours until game time for Sun Devil softball at Farrington Stadium. Many people haven't even left for the game and won't for a while. However, for parents of ASU softball, they're already swinging in full force right outside of Club Farrington, serving burgers and hot dogs to anyone that wants to stop by and support the Devils.
I started it last year when Tani joined the team because Coach Bartlett wanted tailgating and wanted team camaraderie with the parents. So I started doing it, and then this year it escalated and got even bigger.
For many, tailgating happens for just football, with some exceptions being for baseball and basketball. But for Arizona State softball, the parents and head coach Megan Bartlett wants to make tailgating a necessity for the ASU softball fan experience.
For me, it's something I've always wanted to do. I'm from Oklahoma, so I like tailgating. We're all crazy back in the Midwest. And this is what sports is all about, is families getting together during sports and hanging out and having fun. That's truly, we're fanatics for that reason. We get families like this, they bring 30 people, like Tanya's family brings 20, 30 people, next thing you know, it turns into its own thing. It just evolves into something bigger, and that's what it's all about.
Some families travel hundreds of miles to see their daughter play every home series. Ashley Mejia's family takes the 5-hour drive from Corona, California to watch her play. Whether it was travel ball, high school ball, or now college ball, they were always there.
You could see her eyes light up when family members come, and she wasn't expecting them to come. Half the time, family, they won't let me tell her that they're coming to town. But I believe she is supported and she's loved, and she just loves being around family. She just loves us being here,
Sun Devil lacrosse is headed to Gainesville for its final match of the season this Saturday against number 4 Florida. The Gators are currently atop the Big 12 with a perfect 4-0 record. The Sun Devils have a chance to spoil the party. Taryn Vanthoff Poles' squad enters the Swamp 3-1 in conference with a shot at taking first place with a win. But the Sunshine State is no stranger for Vanthoff. She spent 6 seasons as an assistant with the Gators from 2017 to 2022, and now looks to turn the tables and take down her former team. Our Seth Galewski has the story.
Yeah, so originally when I was first looking out of college, I took Rutgers, but Florida had come along at that time, and so then I had passed on it because I had just accepted another position. And so got my feet wet at Rutgers, and then Mandy called the following summer, and it was a no-brainer for me, just in terms of leveling up in where I was in competition, and giving myself the best experience under one of the most winningest coaches in the NCAA. My time at Florida was awesome. Like, my biggest takeaways from my time there was how much I learned and how much I grew as an assistant coach, and to gain knowledge and to gain confidence in myself, to then apply it as a head coach moving forward. So I'm super thankful for a lot of my experiences in Gainesville. I think we take a lot of concepts that are similar in terms of IQ and X's and O's and that style of fast-paced play. It helps that I coached Danielle Pavanelli for 2 years and then brought her on as assistant this past season. So in terms of that taste and that flair, I mean, she played for me in that same style at Florida, and is now having that opportunity to coach the offense with me here. And bring that, that taste of Florida.
Will there be any difficult emotions coming back to Gainesville, or it's something you've dealt with?
No, I think it's always
years?
Fun to get back, but I at the end of the day, our ultimate goal is to win a Big 12 championship, and so Florida's in the way of that, right? So we've got to take Florida as a test on Friday or Saturday, and then roll into Big 12 championships ready to go.
The Gators are in the way and the Sun Devils are in the water. ASU Water Polo houses sisters Carrie and Molly Glad, whose Northwestern roots made it difficult for them to pursue their collegiate athletic dreams. Our Jason Teeter has the story on their journey, sisterhood, and sacrifice.
Molly and Carrie Glad are sisters on the Arizona State water polo team. They grew up in the small town of Westland, Oregon that isn't known for producing water polo talent. So when the sisters were 14, their parents had to make a tough decision to help their daughters reach their full water polo potentials.
She wasn't going to get the coaching in the Northwest because water polo is not a Northwest sport. And the best of the best are from California. So why not go train with the best?
California was definitely one of those situations of we wanted to be better water polo players, and they made that happen.
The Glads knew California was the mecca of U.S. water polo. All but 2 players on the U.S. Olympic team were from the region, so this move gave their girls their best shot at reaching the next level.
I'd do it 100 times over and over again the exact same way.
Wouldn't change a thing.
Yeah, I wouldn't change it, and I don't think they would change it either.
After training at the 6-8 Academy in California, Molly took her talents to USC. After she graduated early, both sisters were looking for new homes and found one together in Tempe.
How was it to finally play together on the same team?
A dream come true.
Yeah, it's everything. Since the day we started playing, it was always our big goal.
I had no idea this is how it would play out because, like I said, originally they were both going to be Trojans, and we got really lucky because we got 2 for 1.
For Cronkite Sports, I'm Jason Teeter.
Coming in with some of the top plays of the spring season, and who better to start with than Kenzie Brown at the mound. We've seen her a lot this season. This was her game against BYU, where she tallied a career-high 18 strikeouts, her 200th of the season up to that point, the second most in a game in ASU softball history. She's had an impeccable season at the mound.
Over to Mullet Arena, it's the second game of NCHC quarterfinals. Graduate forward Ryan Kerwin sends Mullet Arena into a frenzy and sends the Sun Devils to the Frozen Four in their inaugural year in the NCHC.
And coming in at number 1, you already know the name, and he's looking to hear his name heard tonight in the NFL Draft. That's Cam Scadaboo, a 42-yard bomb in the Peach Bowl to Malik McLean, who takes it into the end zone for the score. He could do it all on the floor and then some, and then we're going to see Sam Levitt throw it 62 yards down the field to Cam Scadaboo. The flag is going to get thrown. That's a face mask. His helmet's off, but he gets right back up and hits the crowd with a little mean mug. He knows what he's all about. And then for ASU's first and only lead of the Peach Bowl, Cam Scadaboo at the 10-yard line, met on the inside, but carried into the end zone by Kyle Scott for the score.
Time now for some not top plays of the semester. This is ASU men's golfer Josele Ballester at the Masters, and he decided he needed to take a little leak in the creek at Augusta National. Definitely some outrage from fans, but I mean, I guess all publicity is good publicity. Matt Thurman got kicked off the green for wearing shorts at the Masters too.
And now the duel in the desert, that's BJ Freeman talking his talk to Caleb Love. Hits him with a little head bump. Love sells it, says, I'm not having that. He gets back up, gets right in BJ's face once again, causing the double ejection down the stretch of this game. Clearly some chippiness between the two rivals.
Over to Kajikawa practice field. This is AJ Ia, 6'6", 250 tight end, as our most 18-year-old freshman in college. And that's our very own Grace Johnson. She got hit as Ia was looking to make the catch there. We got to get the double replay, of course. We're happy to report now that Grace is okay. She's back and running, doing a great job taking her pictures as well.
Yeah, and Gabby, that's going to do it for this season of Cronkite Sports Live. We got a long summer ahead, but we'll be back in the fall for season 23. Gabby, you got any plans for the summer?
Justin, you know, wherever the wind takes me, it'll be 115 degrees here in Phoenix every day, so we'll see what happens.
And I'll be right there with you. The wind eventually will lead us back here to the desk at Studio 6 in the fall. But signing out for now for our entire team in the control room, I'm Justin Lacertosa. That's Gabby Chernoff. Thank you guys for tuning in to another season of Cronkite Sports Live.